Hello, true art believers, and welcome to my YouTube channel where I make videos of acrylic pour paintings, live stream drawing videos, and have interviews with artists internationally around the world. Before I start, make sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the notifications bell because I need fans, and who doesn't want fans? All artists want fans. I'm pretty sure I want some fans. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to sell any art. Without fans or anyone to purchase my art, I don't have any art to sell to, so I need fans. Anyways, on today's episode of the Artist Interview Series, I will be talking with fine artist Deborah Herbert, where we will talk about art, life, and all the in-betweens. Notice I had a little stutter there. I missed my cue point, but that's fine. Enjoy the show. So Deborah and everyone that's watching, just want to point out that there's a lag issue. So I'm going to there's going to be lots of pauses in between our dialogue here. Deb, thank you again. Thank you again for taking time out of your day and being just so amicable and what's the word for it? What's the word? It's on the tip of my tongue. Just flexible, being flexible, yes, and generous with your time to meet up with me again to talk about your art and talk more about your life and just getting to know you a little bit more, because I know that we tried doing this and it failed miserably, and we tried doing it again on Instagram, and it worked pretty good, kind of, sort of. You know, there are some kinks that could have been worked out, but like we spent about 40 minutes just trying to even connect on here. But again, thank you so much for talking with me and spending some time with me on this Tuesday night. Deb, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and it's my pleasure. I'm glad that we kind of figured out the tech.
Yeah, the StreamYard is very good if you only have Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. If you don't have that, it's like I don't like you. I don't like you at all. Stop doing that. Deb, how's your art going?
Well, it's going great. I mean, I'm in a creative storm right now. I'm painting up, producing lots of work. I actually have a stack of work right next to me that I got back from my fine art printer, and I have, proofs of everything. I just uploaded a bunch of stuff on my website. So as far as productivity, it's like a full-on storm of creating art.
Uh-oh. Do you hear that? Do you hear me?
I hear you now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this might be in one of those interviews where like sound just says, "Hey, we're not going to work today," and I'm like, "No." So you've been really productive, and what has spurred that productivity?
Oh, that's a good question. I've been working in oils for my commission work, and so they're very tight and kind of traditional. And so the thing that I do to kind of prime the pump of creativity is work in mixed media pieces. And so I've been in a little flurry of creating these mixed media horses and Mustangs, and so I've done like a whole series of them. And so I'll put in time on the big oil painting, and then I'll get to painting some of these smaller, fast mixed media pieces, and I can do one of those a night. and that's kind of fun.
It's nice to be able to produce a piece a night. Like uh, I can relate to that feeling. What is that feeling to you?
To see a piece go from concept to imagining the layers and then finishing it and seeing the final layer, the final look that I was going for, you know, in 2.5, 3 hours is very satisfying. Sometimes they're faster than that. On average, 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours per piece, and they're not big, but they're little power-packed pieces, and I'm really enjoying them.
You're enjoying them? And what entails the mixed media? What do you have in your mixed media pieces?
I'll hold up one right here. So I'm working on mixed media paper, and so let's see. Okay, so there's, oh, this is like when I was teaching and we had overhead projectors, and I could never get it right on the overhead projector
Uh-huh.
because it was always like, remember those days? Overhead? No, you're too young.
The
Anyway, this is it's a combination of colored pencil, ink tints, which is a ink-based media, gesso, and you know, different types of pencil media mixed together and with some watercolor. I mean, literally, it has like 4 or 5 different media in it.
What makes you select the media types when you're working with these mixed media pieces? Are you just whatever's near you? Like this seems like a good choice.
Sort of. Because I'm an art supply geek, I have a whole, in my studio, I have a whole set of shelves with plastic bins, and they're all labeled, you know, because they have to be labeled. But I have like my metallic acrylics and my inks and my colored pencils and my watercolor pencils and my pastels and my acrylic, my regular acrylic paints and charcoals. I mean, I have all this stuff in bins. And so I'll be working and I'll be creating, you know, a part of this picture, and it will feel like it would need, you know, a pop of maybe a swipe of metallics. So I'll reach over to that bin and grab some metallics, or it needs a pop of the acrylic, flat acrylic, and I use a lot of gesso, so maybe it needs gesso. And so it's all right there, so I grab it and go.
And are you? So you said you had everything labeled. So you're an organized artist.
People say I'm organized. I know where everything is, but to me, it's still a kind of a creative mess. So it's not as organ. I would pay somebody to wash my dishes for me. I would pay somebody to clean up my studio for me, because I like working in a clean studio. But when I'm in that frenzy, everything's like everywhere.
Are you hiring?
Right? Actually, I need an apprentice. That's what I need.
So you're doing works that take 2 hours to complete, and those are segueing into your larger oil paintings. Is that what you're trying to? That's what you're saying? There were like understudies.
Well, they're actually no. Well, they can be. I have done study paintings for larger paintings, but these are basically to keep my creativity flowing so that I don't get stuck in one system of working. So I really believe that painters especially need to stay loose, and they need to be productive in coming up with fresh ways of seeing things. And unless you keep those that pump primed with doing new and exciting things, you're going to get stale pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah. The uh, um, the experimentation must go on, or you can't really take a break really in your with your work, or it can like when you say stale, it could to me it could be like you could dull your edge a little bit, like you lose you just lose a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of your skill because you're not training
Mm-hmm.
you're not constantly addressing those muscle memory. It's like a muscle. Um,
Right.
and your bigger oil pieces, how are those going?
We talked last time. I was kind of halfway through a 20 by 30-inch oil portrait,
Yeah.
and I'm almost finished with that one. Just a few more hours on it, it will be done, and then it needs to rest for a while and then get varnished. So that's taken several weeks. I really like to cut loose and paint fast with my oils too, but when you're doing a portrait, you can't do that.
Gotta dial it back, slow it down a bit. You don't want to.
Yeah.
There's an expectation from your customer. You don't want them to. It's like I just try, like your customer hires you to do something, and all of a sudden you're like, I decided to go a different route, and then all of a sudden, what is this? I did not hire you to do an experimental
Right.
piece. Yeah, yeah. Um, Deborah, Deb, I know you told me what your childhood was like. No, I don't think you did. You told me that you were the artsy one as a kid. But what was your childhood like?
Um, I was the quiet kid that always was reading. My nose was always in a book. And if I wasn't reading, I was drawing because that was my way of escaping. So
Hmm.
I was a super quiet one. Out of four kids, I was the one nobody knew was there.
Uh-huh.
Of course,
What
I grew up and changed.
did you did you have a favorite book as a kid?
Anything that had anything to do with horses or um, medieval stories like Robin Hood and all the great stories of the past, basically the classics.
Uh-huh.
My parents did have a huge collection of great books and with great illustrations in them, so I think I was really influenced a lot by wonderful literature, and of course all my books that I was in love with horses.
Uh-huh. And is that the kind of art you made as a kid? Did you do drawings of horses as a kid?
No, not at all.
No? No, what kind of drawings did you
No.
do what kind of things did you do as an artist as a little kid?
Well, I basically drew what I saw, and since I
Okay.
didn't see any horses, you know, so I drew things around the house. I drew my brothers. I drew furniture. And if a teacher wanted me to do something for them, like a bulletin board, I would draw whatever they wanted me to draw and help them with their bulletin boards, and yeah, that kind of stuff.
Did your brothers not like it when you drew them?
Oh, they didn't know. Remember, I was the quiet one. They didn't even know.
They're out doing stuff like, what are you doing over there, Deborah? Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They
Oh,
never knew.
um, Deborah, Deb, did you have any like fond childhood memories that like this like gives you warm and fuzzies inside?
Warm and fuzzies. Um, warm and fuzzies. Those quiet times when I was reading and I could go off my fantasy world. But probably one of my favorite memories was one of my neighbors had a collie dog, and I was hired to walk her dog for her every afternoon. And I think it was an act of mercy on her part because she knew I needed to get out of the house and I needed to have be able to wrap my arms around a big furry dog. So I would go to her house and walk Tippy every afternoon, and I kind of lived for that. And sure enough, when I got married and my husband being very tolerant and loving, we had collies for years because that was such a powerful part of my childhood.
Oh, wow. And so I wanted to ask about, like, as a influence, does your childhood, did it ever influence your art today? I think there is a yes to that.
I think everything that an artist, I don't know an artist, I haven't met one yet that isn't a feeling person. And so we're sponges, we absorb stuff. So I'm a big feeler, always have been. I'm very attuned to animals. I'm very attuned to nature, and I'm attracted to things that are calming the spirit, calming the soul. But I'm also attracted to powerful, like horses are powerful and courageous, but they're also beautiful. So I think art becomes an expression. Like if you squeeze a sponge, all those things that were soaked up as a child, when you become an adult and you're an artist and you squeeze the sponge, that stuff comes out. So, I was quiet and shy as a child, but my art is colorful. I was very intimidated and silent as a child, but my art is about courageous and bold horses, stallions, and, so the things I choose to paint probably are because of the things that I absorbed as a child,
Yeah, I do know. And since you've been working really hard on being productive and just cranking away on pieces, what are some, like, set habits that you've kind of established that help you with that?
I because I was an educator practically my entire life, very much a routine person. So when I started painting full time, I kind of rebelled against that. So I paint when I feel like painting, but I feel like painting almost all the time. So I don't have a set schedule, but I do get creative time in every day. But because I have horses, and we live on a little farm, and chickens, horses, dogs, and a wonderful husband, I still, those things are important to me. So I've learned that you have to have a balance. I don't spend all my time. I don't spend all my time in the studio because I easily could. So I purposely make sure that, like today, I had a trainer work with me with my horse, because I really think investing in relationships that I'm responsible for, like my horses, and making those better, spending quality time and learning more and becoming a better equestrian is important, just as important as it is keeping my art skills sharp. And I am a little bit of I am never not busy. So my husband says, I don't know how nobody could keep up with you. Well, it's because I think not being busy is kind of like a sin. I am always doing something.
What did you and the equestrian, the horse trainer, do? Would you go over?
Well, I have a beautiful chestnut colored, she's a reddish color mare, and she's had some sort of health issues that were affecting her ability to, her trainability, put it that way, over the last few months. And over the summer, it was really, really hot. And this horse this mare that I'm working with came from Wyoming. So she came from a place where temperature during the summer is not nearly what it is here, and definitely not the humidity. So she's kind of suffered and didn't get a lot of work, exercise, or training over the summer, because it would have been cruel. Would have been really hard for her, because she, can't sweat, and it'd be like putting us in, if you had a medical condition and then forcing you to do something where you couldn't physically do it very well. So now that it's cooler, I'm starting to work her again, and the trainer that I'm working with, I respect highly, and she's showing me some things that, even though I've had horses for 30 years, she's showing me different techniques. So I love learning from people that know more than I do about different things, and she's amazing. So I'm learning new ways of doing things. So it's very much like, if you take a workshop with an artist that you admire, or, you pick up lessons from somebody in another, another creative field or something. It only enhances what you're doing with the rest of your life. So we've been working on different things with her, and it's very rewarding, especially when I see that my horse is responding so well.
Yeah. And you said, did you say that you've had horses for 20 or 30 years?
30.
30? What made you start? What made you start the path into horses, like into having horses?
Well, remember when I told you I would read a horse book when I was a kid? I always read about horses and read about, the Walter Farley books and all that stuff. And to me, they are probably the most beautiful creature that God ever made. And to have the privilege to own and take care of a horse and have a relationship with one is, to me, is amazing. It's just purely amazing.
Yeah, my mother had horses, so I can relate. And they're beautiful creatures. And so you've been learning a lot with your trainer, and that's pretty cool too. What's next that you have to go over with your horse trainer? What are some next things that you two are tackling?
We're tackling teaching. Okay, so you remember you were talking about staying sharp manually and keeping yourself so that if you lose the edge unless you practice. That's kind of where we are. We're bringing her back up sharpness so that she's being ridden more. She'll be more sensitive to the aids and to the directions that she's being given, without her getting worked up, excited, or nervous about it. So it's all very kindness based. It's all very much paying attention to the signals that she's giving, and she's learning to read my signals better. And it's about communication. So it's very rewarding, very fun work, and you see big changes. And it's it's incremental, small steps.
Still there?
Yeah.
How many horses do you have?
I have 3 full-size horses and a miniature horse.
What's a miniature horse?
I have a very small horse. She's the little miniature horse is about the size of a Great Dane.
Oh, so you have a Great Dane, or you have an actual miniature horse?
A miniature horse that's about the size of a Great Dane. So 3 big horses and a small horse.
So a baby horse, or or actual mini horse?
It's a mini. It's a miniature. It's just like a big horse. It's just miniature.
It's just a small horse. You're cutting out on me, so that's why I'm like, what's happening? You know.
Okay.
So
can you hear me now? Okay.
yes, yes. I think we've already asked this question, but for those that don't know, how do you start your artwork?
I usually have a reference that I am inspired by, and it's usually a photograph, but it's not what holds me to the image. So I'll start by looking at the photograph, thinking about it, and then I start doing some rough sketches on my surface, and then I usually just go right to it from there. I don't do any tracing. I don't do any grid work. I don't do any graphing or anything like that. I just render, and then I start adding my values. So I'll do my rendering, and then I'll add my values, my darks first, and then build up from there.
You build up.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
what are some techniques that are involved with that? So you actually omitted like
one of the things I like. Go ahead.
Yeah, you admitted that you don't do like a lot of the special techniques. You don't do grid work. You don't do tracing or such. So what's some unique like techniques that you implement with your work that you find pleasing visually?
Okay, so I've taught art my whole life, and one of the things that I was very insistent upon with my students is that they learn how to draw, that they learn to be good draftsmen, and they learn it without the gimmick. So learning to be a good draftsman is learning by seeing and learning how to see things and render those things that you see. So unless you learn to see and then translate what you see onto a two-dimensional surface, taking a three-dimensional form and being able to create that symbol in whatever way you want to manipulate it onto a two-dimensional surface, that once you get that flowing and you start putting those three-dimensional forms together to create objects, items, figurative pieces, whatever, with the intention that the human hand, the mark that we make, is unique and creative, individualistic, and special. Once I start building a form that is shaping out like I really want it to, and then start adding, like I said, the darks and the lights, and then the color, because I really am a colorist. That is very, very satisfying. But it all comes from being able to render the draftsmanship first.
Mm-hmm. And what advice can you give to artists?
Draw every day.
Draw every day?
Draw every day.
That's good advice.
And draw from life. Draw everything. One of the things I admire most about my husband is that he can draw anything out of his head. He's also an artist. And he's amazing. I mean, you could say, he's very mechanically oriented as far as his drawing ability. He can draw machines amazingly, just amazing. And on the other hand, I can draw animals and people and natural forms, and he's more the mechanical, that type of stuff. Although he can do the other very well too. But he can do all that stuff out of his head. I prefer to draw from life. So I prefer to look at anything around and draw it, and that I just enjoy that. So it's a different way of seeing the world. Some artists see the world from an internal view. Other artists see the world from an external view. And it's just how we're wired. We're opposite in so many ways. I think that's very interesting. So to me, I love representing what's out there in creation.
Yeah, like it's today's youths a lot do not like drawing from life. A lot of them feel that it's boring. Like at least the one where I'm from my vantage point, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they don't like drawing still lifes. I think it's not they don't like drawing from life. They don't like drawing still lifes. Probably the still lifes that I make. So it's probably on me. But yeah, I think that's probably one of the better pieces of advice you can give to artists. Like, you got to draw every day. No one wants to draw every day. It's like, oh, I got things to do. And drawing from life really is key. I do agree on that. Deb, do you have any like words of wisdom? Do you have any rules of life that you live by?
Well, yeah. I believe everybody has something that they anchor themselves to. I'm a woman of faith, so my arrow points heavenward. And so, I kind of base everything that my value system on, the truth of God's word. So basically, the golden rule came from, words of wisdom and speaking the truth in love, creating my art truthfully and with love, do no harm, be patient, imagine if you can what that other person might be going through before you judge them. Mm-hmm. And judging somebody is not my place at all, because that's not my job. I wasn't sent here to judge people, but I was sent here to love people. And one of the ways I love people is through my art, through communicating about it, being gentle and kind. You can't have enough kindness in this world, especially now. So, so it's based on basically the truth of living out what I believe in.
Would you consider yourself a charitable person?
Yep. Yeah. I give away to way more than I actually probably could afford to. If I was a rich person, I wouldn't be a rich person.
Oh yeah.
It's much easier to give it away. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of charities have you been given to?
Well, it's, of course, churches, Samaritan's Purse, Christmas time, I send money so that, people in villages can have chickens and stuff like that, stuff like that. But that's not the point. The point is that, if you see somebody who needs something and you can give it to them, I'm not talking about the guy on the corner who makes $500 a day panhandling, because everybody's giving them $5 and $10 as they drive by. They're throwing money at them. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about if you see a need that you can fill and you're meant to fill it, then do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Deb, one last question. What is a dream project you want to do? Like something really big?
Ooh. Good question. I'm actually doing what I thought was the dream project. So after I always wanted to be a full-time artist, and so I'm actually doing that thing. I love collaborating with people on projects. I've done some public art piece. So there's different things I used to think that would be kind of hard to do, like something new, but now I've done a lot of new things and they don't scare me anymore. So whatever's next in my path, I'm probably going to enjoy whatever it is. But being a full-time artist is the dream.
Have you ever what about like painting like life-size horses? You ever thought about doing that? Like a whole like a horse, like you have a canvas
Yeah.
like 6 feet tall, like by 8 feet long, or 8 feet by 8 feet.
Yeah.
You go through so much
Yeah. I
paint.
painted a life-size fiberglass. Yeah, I painted a life-size fiberglass bull. It's in my bio on my website, a public art piece. It was a full-size bull, horns and everything.
Oh wow.
He was, fiberglass and everything. He was on a stand in my barn, and he literally looked like he was living in my barn. And I always thought it would be, yeah, I always thought it'd be fun to, paint a horse, with all the stuff on it. But it's kind of cliche at this point because it's been done by so many people. But as far as large canvases, I don't necessarily think large is, it'd be fun, but that's not necessarily the dream. I just want to keep getting better at what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. How'd you land that public piece with the bull?
I sent in a proposal, so there were it was like a call to artists in Florida, and there
Yeah.
was 7 artists selected, and so I was one of the 7. And they were sponsored by different businesses and corporations around the state. And next year, those bulls are going to be toured around the state for events celebrating the Great Florida Cattle Drive 2021, which is celebrating the when Ponce de Leon came to Florida and actually, discovered America, blah, 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 came to Florida and brought his herd of 7 cows, bulls, and horses to Florida. And then when he left, he didn't bring them back with him. He left them here, which was the beginning of the herds of cattle in Florida. Actually, the first cattle operation in the United States started in Florida.
How often do you submit to those public proposals?
Well, that one I just happened upon. I'm kind of busy right now with work, but it's something I'm going to start at the beginning of the year, keeping my eyes open for new proposals, because that actually was a lot of fun.
Okay.
I really do like public art pieces.
Very cool. Deb, anything you'd like to add? Anything else you'd like to add? You want me to like ask a question that you want me to ask? You got a question you want me to ask?
Well, I just would love to have people come visit my website and check out my art. I do a lot of horses, but I also do Western art, cowboys, ranch scenes. I've done some rusty old Massey tractor. I've got lots of different types of pieces, but pieces that really speak to the simple life, back to roots kind of lifestyle, and things that are kind of core value type things. Keeping it simple.
What? Where's that website? What's the website, and where can they find you outside of your website?
Okay, they can find me at debherbertart.com, debherbertart.com, and I have a wonderful website. I really, really do like it. They can also find me on Instagram, debherbertart, and on Facebook, Deb Herbert Art.
All right, Deb. Thank you so much again for taking time out of your day and being flexible with your work schedule. I know you're very busy making lots of pieces each day, and you're doing lots of commissions, and it was really nice to catch up with you again and to see how you're doing. Really thankful that you came and came onto the show, and I appreciate you. And for those that want to see more of this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you. Support the art, support artists, and don't forget to look up Deborah's work and follow her on Instagram and Facebook. Have a wonderful day. Pearson out. Bye. Bye, Deb.
Thank you.
Again. Thank you again.